Salam rahmatullah. A few days back, perhaps a couple of weeks back, I set up 2 beds for worm casting. That is one of the best fertilizers that you can use for your home garden. And I was wondering that how can we implement it on a smaller scale where people doing the kitchen gardening, maybe terrace gardening, how can they incorporate that into their everyday life where they can get the compost and enrich their soil with it and get better yield. And for that I started making a smaller worm farm using buckets. Here I'm using a plastic plant pot, but it can easily be done in a bucket. And I'll show you how I set it up, and then I'll keep updating on that as we go along. So these are the 2 beds I was talking about that we have set up for worm casting project. Some loquats, beautiful. So if we remove the mulch from the top, here you can see already there's a red wiggler there, and as we dig into it you see many of them, and this is being converted into compost. Yeah, there are plenty of them here, so alhamdulillah, this is going well. We'll cover it up. All we do is to water it, keep it moist, and keep it mulched. I'll show you how I set up that bucket method now, and I would highly recommend that if you can follow it along, it would be an amazing thing for your garden. If you can start up these things alongside me as I'm doing it now. Here I've taken a plastic pot, which is 30 liters, but you can easily get a bucket, any kind of bucket, old paint bucket or oil bucket or ghee buckets that people use, and make some holes underneath it. The point of the holes is that all the excess water drains out, so our wigglers in there do not get drowned in the extra or excess water. The next thing is for the bedding. I've taken quite a lot of cardboard, so just drop the cardboard in it. It doesn't matter how much cardboard is, because this is all gonna get converted into compost. As I am adding the cardboard in it, I'm taking off any tape which is on the cardboard. In the next step, we're gonna wet the bedding as much as we can, make it soft, and let it hold as much water as it can hold. What's underneath is gonna get covered and not get wet, so we just turn it over, add some more water. Repeat the process because we want all of it to get wet. Now we've got the bedding wet. Here I've got a plate of all sorts of mix, some strawberries, leftover bananas, honey melon peels, some coriander, whatever is left over of that, some more bananas, apple peel, bananas, some papers, see cucumber, even though it's a little bit, but there is a tea. So this is all we're gonna add in. And next, I've got some worms in there. I will try to show you if I can any. Let me drop some stuff from the side, which is rotten leaves and stuff like that. which I did have in the pot for the worms to multiply a little. And now I'm gonna shift everything in this pot where they're gonna have enough food and they're gonna multiply in there. Let me see. There aren't many worms in here, but enough for me to multiply them. So here is one. It's a smaller one. There are some bigger ones in there too. There's some more worms in there. So I've added all that in there, and now I've got some dried manure. So this manure part is completely optional. If you don't have that, get worms from wherever you can. Well, you can get it from us, or there are other people who are selling worms. Here is one of those dry bananas which I put a few days back. It's rotting, so that's becoming their food. So all you got to do is just to cover them up like this. Just cover them up and let them do their job, do their work, and you'll have worm castings. But because I have that dried manure, and that's an optional thing, so I'm going to add that on top. If you don't have that, you can just leave them with the bedding, cardboards, papers, food like any kind of vegetables or fruit waste, and then that's what it is. So here I'm gonna add that extra. Once again, as I'm saying that because I have it, I'm adding it. You can do without it. Just moisten it. They don't like to be drowned in water, but they don't like to be in a dry condition either. So making sure it's nice and moist. Another thing about the pot is that it being black helps, because they do not like light. They move away from light. So if you've got a lighter skin thing around them, that would keep them uncomfortable from the whatever food is on the outside of it. So we're gonna do that. Put the cardboard lid back on, moisten it so it sits properly on top. Because I haven't got many worms, I don't need to be very much worried about them running out of food. But if I do buy a bigger packet, maybe say a kilo of worms, then I need to put more food for them, because they will consume their weight in terms of food every day. So if there is a kilo of worms, then you have to feed them kilo of food every day. So perhaps it's better to start with a smaller quantity and then learn how it works and then let it grow. So I'm gonna put it aside in shade somewhere where it's dark, and at the moment I'm just starting it, so it's not necessary. But later on, further down the road, maybe in a couple of weeks time, I'm going to put something underneath this as well, where I can get all the juices that come out, worm tea that I get, so worm casting tea that I can get. So all that can be foliar sprayed or given to plants as compost, as feed. So this is it. Otherwise, yes, the other thing you can do is put a bucket underneath that would catch all the runoff water. You can either add a tap to the bucket that you can drain out every time that you want, or you can just empty the bucket out every time there is some juice in there. So that worm juice is very good for your plants. So this is how it is. I'm gonna leave it. We'll come back to it in a couple of weeks' time and then see how it's doing.